Well, good morning to all my epically savage, badass badger peeps out there. Welcome to, I can't believe it, the 100th Monday Morning Quickie. That means that's 100 Mondays of breath, backbone, and badger energy and hot badger tips. I can't believe it. And thank you so much for, you know, tuning in on these Mondays, these 100 Mondays. Oh my God. Oh my God. The craziest thing ever. And today I'm celebrating the thing that got us here and will carry us toward, you know, it will carry us forward and help us grow and to become better and more empowered individuals. And it's something that it came to me, a little while ago, when I was thinking about two words. And first of all, it is gratitude, right? And it's the fusion of grit and gratitude, right? And it turns those hard moments into honest progress, if you will. If grit is the fire that gets you under the bar, gratitude is the fuel that keeps you from burning down, right? And gratitude isn't about living at max intensity or pretending that everything is just literally, you know, like Rocky said, sunshine and rainbows all the time, right? It's both. It's the both and, right? It's discipline with deep presence, courage with calm, it's effort with appreciation. And it's the shift from I have to into I get to. And that tiny pivot, that changes your breath, it changes your posture, it changes your mindset, your choices, right? And it also changes your results. So what I'm going to do in this milestone episode is I'm going to name the 4 seasons of grit that I cycle through. Like fire, that's the go time energy, right? Water is adapt and flow. Like Bruce Lee is like be like water, which is one of my absolute favorite quotes of all time. Air, it's that quiet regulating presence. And earth, it's the steady, it's what we consider to be the boring, mundane, powerful consistency. And gratitude threads through each of these seasons. So none of them own you, you own them. And we're walking straight into, that last rep moment, that edge where your body is bargaining and your brain has to decide what's going to happen. And we'll use the gratitude playbook. Shrink the task to, one honest rep at a time. Cue one thing that matters most. Breathe longer out than in, and then anchor to the sentence that snaps everything into place. I get to do this. And you'll feel your nervous system settle and your focus begins to, sharpen. And this isn't like woo-woo new age, right? That's physiology working for you. I'm also going to translate the gym into life in the daily, right? Because to me, fitness, mindset, life, it's those things are intertwined and they go together, right? Like the infinity sign. So you have fitness on one side and you have mindset on the other, and they're constantly intertwining with each other in that infinity flow, because the same mindset that finishes your sets, you know, um, your sets, it finishes your sets and it finishes your day. That could be the hard conversation. That could be the messy schedule, the curveballs that you didn't order. Gratitude makes you durable without getting jaded, soft without getting fragile or frail, and savage without getting sloppy. And, you heard me say 100 times in 100 different ways, we don't collect hero stories, we collect standards. And we set the standards exceedingly high, right? Gratitude, that's a standard. And it's how we train and how we live, how I live. It's like adaptive, accurate, sustainable, and it's ours. And so, you take one deep breath with me, right? Let's do that now. Take a deep breath with me and you fill up. Your ribs are wide, and a long exhale, shoulders down. And today I want to honor the fire. We respect the flow and we choose the quiet, right? And, we double down on the routine that built us, right? We stick to that. because we matter, right? We are important. And then we get to get after it one clean, grateful rep at a time in the gym and in life. So happy 100th crew, and let's roll into it. Grit without gratitude is a grind. Gratitude without grit is a wish. Grititude builds a life. Me. Quote by Krista Kruszon. The gritty glitter badger. Okay, there's a certain moment when, in training and your body starts to, well, it starts negotiating with your brain, right? It's having a conversation and it's trying to like bargain and auction different things, right? And we've all been there. We know what that feels like. The bar suddenly weighs like 3 extra planets as opposed to just 3 pounds more, right? And, maybe it's your quads filing formal complaints, or your grip is bargaining, like it's a hostage negotiator. And that's the moment everyone thinks is purely physical. Can your body do it? But the real question is, it's sneaky. It's like, can your mind hold? And this is where enter grititude. Grititude, it's my hybrid engine. Grit, the willingness to show up and work when it's not cute, right? It's being in that moment. It's braided, it's blended. And like I said, that infinity with gratitude, right? And the grounded recognition that in quite, all honesty, it's a privilege to be there in that moment, to move and to have the ability to be able to try again. And it's not, always that grind harder, because we hear that a lot. And it's not always good vibes only. Dude, I say that, right? I mean, we hear it a lot, but it's both. It's the discipline to do hard things and the presence to honor them while you do. And, I'm not here to worship intensity for intensity's sake, right? It's like, it's about sustainable power, the kind that builds over years, over decades, not weeks, right? And it's the kind that keeps you fierce in the gym and then sane in real life. And that requires more than just having one single gear. And grititude, this is where I said grititude has seasons. So the 4 seasons of grit, and why we need every single one. First of all, fire, that's action and drive. So this is the obvious grit, right? And this is the one that we see so often on social media, or we hear about. And I talk about it quite often too, right? It's again obvious. It's the PR attempt. It's the brutal finisher. It's that last interval when your lungs are freaking, you have fire lung and your brain is literally screaming, and it's like you can't even articulate thoughts and stuff because it's such an intensity in that moment. And fire seasons make you feel unstoppable. Now, gratitude here it's for the purpose of it's your keeper, right? And it keeps you from chasing ego lifts, and also helps you choose the right kind of hard. You're not proving anything here. You're building something, right? So for the training field, clean, aggressive lines, right? Short cues, drive, stack, lock, anything. It's like simple, stupid when you're in the middle of it, right? And what you're doing is you are prepared and you're well fueled and you're ready to push the edge wisely. Then there's water. And this is about flow and adaptation, right? Plans change. Like, dude, some days I have my Rice Krispie knees. It's ridiculous, right? Or if you still have children at home, your kids get sick or sleep goes sideways, right? Water grit is the courage to adapt without self-betrayal, without self-sabotage, right? It's saying, hey, I'm going to swap heavy squats for my RPE today, and that's what I'm going to measure it off. I'm not going to do percentages. And maybe it's doing it at tempo, or you're going to trade HIIT for, something like LISS, low intensity, steady state, with mobility, right? And you recover like a pro. Gratitude, it reframes like this, like you're not falling behind, you are staying in the game by making smarter choices. And Again, it could be tempo work or breath sync, or it's like obsessing over your technique as opposed to how much weight do you have on the barbell or how heavy the dumbbells are, right? And this is when you need to keep the momentum going without adding injury, or you don't want to add burnout to your list. And the next one is air. And this is all about presence and reflection. And it's the quiet version of grit. Um, and it looks like nothing, but it's literally everything. And it's the reset between the sets, right? The 30 seconds, eyes closed before a heavy pull, or, like I say that I will walk up to the barbell or the dumbbells and I'll close my eyes just for a few seconds and I will ask myself, how great can I be at this? How good can I do this lift? Or, something like coming from a space of energetic curiosity. It's the walk outside when your nervous system is zinging. Like, I don't know, it's like a weird, for me, it feels restless, right? And gratitude, it makes the pause a practice. It's not just punishment where we tend to see things as a form of punishment. And it's like you're training with attention and intention and not just your muscles, right? And it's really great to use this when your mind feels noisy, which for us, at least I can speak for myself, is pretty much feels like it every day, right? And you need accuracy more than you need that adrenaline dump to get through. So now Earth, this is consistency and stability. And this is the long game, right? This is the Monday that you don't skip, the basic meals that hit your protein, right? They may be the same things, simple and boring, but they help you reach that nutritional goal. It's the walk you take even when you could be, you could Uber the block or whatever it is, right? Like, for instance, I needed to go pick up some stuff at the vet for my dogs, right? And literally, it's like a 5-minute drive from my house. Instead of driving, I walked to get the stuff for my dogs and walked back, right? And, it was really great. It was a nice day, and it just felt like it was very uplifting and it was a great reset. And gratitude celebrates the boring reps, right? Those foundational things that make the big days feel possible. And this is like really important when life is busy or you need those reliable, repeatable wins, right? And we could all use those and they help us move forward. So that last rep moment, this is where gratitude lives, right? Now I want to zoom in on this edge, right? Maybe it's 3 reps left and the bar is humming, right? And your breath is choppy, or you feel that fatigue in your muscles and they're shaky, right? And this is where grit goes from muscle to mindset. And you know, here's some things that I do. Like, I run in real time. I name the smaller tasks. This is something I talk about a lot. It's not just 3 reps. Like, look, it's just 1 clean rep, okay? I did that. Now do the next one. It's like micro goals for me tend to calm the panic and the overwhelm of looking at an entire set. Switch your breath. It's an inhale to set, brace, exhale through the sticking point, right? And longer out than in. And that ratio tells your nervous system, hey, guess what? We're safe. We've got this. So cue one thing. And this is like not focusing on 855 different things simultaneously, literally one. Like, think about something, maybe you could think about, you just drive through midfoot, whatever, or pull elbows under, or chest up, stay long, right? Precision beats the noise. And when you focus on that one thing, it helps to keep you in the moment and focused on the task. And actually, you end up having a better lift because you're not thinking, you're not overthinking. And this is something that I really work on, that I overthink lifts, specifically like Olympic lifting. I'll tend to overthink those way too much. And that's where that, cueing one thing for me really comes into play and really helps me. And another one is anchored to gratitude. I literally think, like I said, I'll think like I get to do this, or hey, like in my head, let's see how good I can be at this. That single reframe turns pain into proof, right? Energetic curiosity. And your body is adapting on the spot. And if the rep isn't there, gratitude doesn't turn you into a martyr. Like, let's just be clear about that, right? You rack it with respect, you make the smart adjustment, and you live, to lift powerfully tomorrow. And we're building capability here, not collecting hero stories. Like, I've already done where I've started a set and I've done the set, and it was like, whoo, man, I overestimated the RPE, the rate of perceived exertion for that day, and I've taken weight off. Like, I'm at the point now, I'm like, what is more important to me? Being able to execute my form and be on point with it or not? And then, my ego takes over and I end up hurting myself. And then where am I at that point, right? Now, I want to talk about why gratitude isn't like BS or, fluff or whatever. It's actual physiology, right? Gratitude, it's not just, and we hear it all the time, it's not just a cute journal prompt. I use it. I have it in my programming on my app. I have daily gratitude or, journal prompts to use, right? But the purpose is it's a state of change, right? And when you land in genuine appreciation, even if it's just for 5 breaths, right? You're nudging your system from high alert toward rest and repair. So you're going from sympathetic system overdrive into parasympathetic, right? And it's going to soften your heart rate and you're going to be able to breathe deeper, right? And that's going to increase. You're not going to be stuck in your chest. It's not going to feel tense and tight. Your focus is going to sharpen. And that doesn't make you less intense. It makes you more accurate under intensity. And there's a big difference between the two. Now, when you pair that with your brain's RAS, the reticular activating system, and I have a huge podcast on that I did recently in the past few months, that filter is going to show more of what you're already looking for, right? And you train it to notice what's working. Good joint position, stable bracing, clean foot pressure, and you'll spot more of it. And, you will spot more of it faster, right? And gratitude sharpens the signal. Grit turns it to into action, but together they together that gratitude and the gratitude, it's a performance multiplier. And I will tell you something that I learned when I was with CompTrain and Ben Bergeron, and Katrin David's daughter was like his big star athlete, right? And something I learned from listening to and watching her and him was when there was something in a session that was, it didn't go well, or there were just negative feelings around it, just wasn't good, to go quietly and just do a few reps of the same thing and do them well. And it's like ending on that note as opposed to leaving the session on the negative note or whatever it was that happened. And I really got into the habit of doing that, whether it was something that happened in a metabolic conditioning piece, or if I have, like there was a lift that didn't quite, just something about the whole thing was off and I just felt really negative around it and disempowered by it. I will do literally just a couple more reps at the end of that, but do them well. And it totally changes the session. It totally changes how I felt about that lift or the metabolic conditioning piece or whatever it was, right? And my RAS is focusing on how well I did that last thing, as opposed to focusing on how everything went wrong when I did it the first time. Now gratitude is, I want to give you some tactics that you can use today, right? Let's call them field notes. You know me, I love a theme. I like calling things stuff, hot badger tips, field notes, whatever you want. Let's just give you some tactics today. So preset a ritual. This would be air to fire. So, whether it's feet under you, big inhale, tall spine, one word that you need now, maybe it's drive, stack, strong, whatever it is. On the exhale, pick up the bar. Maybe you could ask yourself, let's see how great I can be at this, right? Open-ended question, energetic curiosity. Mid-set, don't chase the whole set. Literally, chase the next clean rep, reset, repeat. And then the 30-second reset, if your brain is, if it just feels like mush or soup or whatever, just step back, take a long exhale to empty, pause, slow inhale, do it twice, and then step back in with one cue. And then there's always that adaptive swap, right? You know, if your form is slipping and your nerves are fried, you drop the load, add the tempo, but keep the quality. Adaptation is progress. And being able to do that, that's a massive win. And you are really rewiring and rewriting, you know, in the moment when that happens. And then there's that post-set debrief, you know, name one thing that was better. Name one thing that you'll cue the next time, you know, done. And that's how mastery is made. And we always used to do, when I was a CrossFit Masters athlete, we did what was called ruts at the end of a session, literally quick, raw, unfiltered thoughts, just wrote down. It was like a brain dump of thoughts. There was no like, just got everything out that you felt. You spent a couple of minutes doing it, right? It was just to give you an idea of like where you were at when you were training. And again, things like you're looking at it then from a detached space and you look at it, okay, what went well, what didn't, what can I, things like that, you know? And none of this is fancy, but what's most important is it's repeatable. And like I said, repeatable wins because it builds these unstoppable, you know, moments for us and we become unstoppable through it. Now, I did say I was going to talk about how it transfers to life on the daily. And again, training is just real life in a controlled environment. That's why, you know, I love fitness so much and, you know, why it's such an important and, you know, has been a constant throughout my life, right? You know, think about it, like those last 3 reps, you know, that's the final 15 minutes of the hard work day where you want to scroll instead of, you know, ship, which is what Seth Godin calls, and ship would be do the work, right? You know, micro goals, breath, 1 cue, same exact playbook. You know, it could be, maybe it's the water season, you know, that's the week where your travel blows up your schedule and you don't, you know, you don't want to ghost your goals. You adapt with intention, right? And, you know, walks, body weight, protein, bedtime. Really, there's always, we can always fill in and find ways to adapt in those moments of, you know, uncertainty or when uncontrolled times, right? So what about the air, which is, I always talk about is the reset. And that's before a tough, maybe it's before a tough conversation, right? 2 long exhales, choose one sentence that you want to say clearly, and then you go in grounded, right? Something else is, you know, where your calendar, use your calendar. Work, and I say this, if you've been following me, you know I say this all the time. Treat your workouts, your training like appointments with Dr. Jim. If you have to write on your calendar, an appointment, Dr. Jim, 9:15 a.m., you show up for that like you would any specialist that you respect, like your real doctor, or your dentist, or whatever your nail appointment, right? Put on your calendar, Dr. Jim, G-Y-M, Jim, right? Because every time you practice gratitude under the bar, you're rehearsing resilience, you know, for the rest of your life. You're training your mind to stay in the moment, your body to organize under pressure, and your spirit to hold both with grace, right? So again, it's nothing woo. Like it's skill, it's reps, and it's yours, it's your choice. So, you know, the other thing is there's a thing it's called quiet grit. And this is the one no one sees, but I'm pretty sure everyone feels it, you know. And look, we love the highlight reel, bells, chalk, loud music, whatever it is. I mean, you see it and God, you get like such a power from watching it. But some days grit is just a soft whisper, and it's always going to look and feel different day to day. And, you know, it could be the choice to go for a walk when a nap would, you know, it would feel so good, right? Believe me, there are many times that I'm like, dude, I just want to lay down and nap with my dogs. Or it's the decision to eat a real meal instead of whatever's around and just have a snack parade. I have done that. Again, I speak from experience. Like, I'm not pointing the finger and telling everybody, like telling you what to do. Literally, I'm speaking because it's it's just stuff that I've gone through, right? Or it's journaling one line of gratitude when your brain is like, dude, I ain't got no freaking time for your gratitude woo BS bullshit. And that's another thought I've had. Literally, just write one thing down, and it could be or feel like the silliest thing in the world. Like, you know what? I'm grateful for my shoes. But look, I'm grateful for my shoes, right? That's gratitude too. And the beauty of this philosophy is that it meets you where you are. Like, dude, if you have Rice Krispie knees, cool. Okay. Well, guess what? I'm not going to be slapping like 85% of my max on the barbell today, right? Was my sleep trash? Did it feel fitful? Fine. I'm going to, stack small ones today. Am I am I feeling badger, feral, fierce today? Let's glow. I'm like, man, clean form, and I've got a clear why. And dude, I can hit that massive RPE, the percentages today. Let's do it. And the point is, it isn't staying in one season, right? It's to know, like, what season are you waking up in this morning, right? And then train like someone who respects their future. So, it's just being able to trust yourself, right? Your intuition, knowing how you feel. That is what's the most important thing. Not, giving that power away. We're doing that way too much when we're listening to too many outside sources. Listen to yourself and trust in yourself. I mean, I remember, gosh, it's so funny because I think back, I've failed many reps in the gym, but it's funny because there are quite a few, like there are some that stand out more than others. And this was a particular day. It wasn't even anything super heavy. And I remember I was in the squat rack and it was like, God, I think it was like 185 pounds. I mean, that's, was heavy, but not super heavy, right? And the week prior to that, I had slammed out. Oh my God. It was because it was a higher rep day and was like, I'm trying to think back now. It was like between 170 and 175. And it was like, dude, everything flowed. It's like, bah, yeah, boom, boom, boom. Knees, it all felt tight. Like the ass to grass squats, super came out, didn't get stuck in the bottom, nothing. And so the next week was we increased the weight and then the rep range came back a little bit. And I'm like, okay, and so got under the barbell and like, holy shit, just literally when I stood up with a barbell on my back, like, I felt like the 185, it felt like 1,085 pounds. It was crazy. And as soon as I stood up, and I felt that, and I felt the way my body felt under the barbell, that noisy roommate, good God, was he freaking loud. Loud. And Doubt was his sidekick. I mean, and it was just one of those moments. I got down into the squat and literally tried to bounce out and I couldn't, and, failed out of it. Obviously, I mean, I knew how to fail out of it, but it was just, I didn't get stuck in that moment, right? And I mean, I just kind of got up and I remember somebody at the gym came and was like, you okay? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm totally fine. It was more or less like it was a mental thing, like, holy crap. And then I didn't, gratitude wasn't a thing then, but it makes me think back now is understanding that, was that lift and all of this stuff that happened in that moment, was it sexy? No. Did I get stronger? Yes, 100%. Physically and mentally. Even though physically I failed out of the rep, I still got stronger. And mentally, man, I jammed on a ton of mind muscle and growth from that moment, right? And then I know like the next week, again, that I did that weight the next week, right? I didn't bump it up. Again, wanted to create a, moment where I was remembering a good rep as opposed to the failed rep, which, by the way, at the end of that one session, I did really go down like super low and did a couple of reps, and I ended on that. And then the next week, the weight moved and it felt smooth and it felt good again, right? And that's what, like, that gratitude mantra, like, that's what it is. If I think about that, it would be show up, stay soft, stay savage, and stay thankful. Get your badger pen or get a pen, get a piece of paper, and write that down on a Post-it note and put that up in your bathroom or somewhere you're going to see it. Show up, stay soft, stay savage, and stay thankful, right? And soft doesn't mean weak. We're always thinking like soft means weak, and that, we are like, if you come into something like that, you're just freaking, I don't, goober pansy who can't handle anything. And savage doesn't mean reckless, right? It means you hold your power with presence and you train hard and you recover, like you respect yourself in total badassery. And if you miss a lift, you don't make it, mean you're a failure. Do another way, find another way to recreate that, to end on a good note. You make it data. You are learning. Every time you train is practice and you are learning, right? And you keep going because you can. And the fact that, it's worth giving thanks for, right? You get to do it. You don't have to do it. So I want you to take 60 seconds right now. And I want you to, one thing that you're grateful your body can do today, and one thing you're willing to do, about it. Like, and, what's one breath longer than you'd usually take, right? That's gratitude in action, simple, repeatable, and yet it's still so super potent. And I am going to see you under the bar, on the trail, hopefully in the comments section, or in the wild, feral middle of your life. And remember, don't just go through life, grow through life.